Hey guys and gals, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing just basically doing a review of the show Squid Game on Netflix, and it's freaking 10 out of 10 show, one of the best ones I've seen yet. And we're gonna be doing basically a review of Ben Shapiro's really freaking weird take there on the whole show, because it's completely the most dumbest one yet. And I heard I don't think Ben Shapiro's an idiot. He says a lot of very smart things, but this particular thing, oh my god, like he tries to basically make it political, the show, when it literally is not political whatsoever. It has nothing to do with it. And you can tell he friggin' as, like, I kind of understand it, because I came from a poor background too. Well, I was at one time, long while ago. Like, I'm not rich yet, but I'm all right, you know. And I don't really care. This is the one living life comfortably. I don't give a freaking crap about a bunch of fancy stuff and all that. But the thing is, he didn't. I don't think he watched the whole show at all. I think he watched some free clips online. Ben Shapiro, he had to. He must have watched some free clips online or something. And basically, that's all he did, and he basically just came up with his own, like, that isn't even a review, Ben Shapiro. Watched it. I don't think because he's missing the whole point of the show, so it's hard to even believe that he even watched. I'm pretty sure I've seen a video, he said he didn't watch it all. I don't know. But why the hell would you do a review about it if you didn't friggin' watch it all? And it's a very emotional show too. Like, friggin' one of the best shows I've seen yet. It's the only one season, but it's still really good. It's a Netflix original. Netflix definitely got another reason they've upgraded, because I criticize Netflix because of not having like all the Simpsons seasons like Disney Plus, because Disney Plus is like $11.99 and you get all of the seasons of Simpsons, you get all the seasons of Family Guy right down to season 1. Same with Simpsons. And on Netflix they removed a bunch of seasons of Family Guy and stuff. But now I can kind of see why, and I was like, they're freaking so like behind. But the one thing though, why they're still successful and stuff, is because they're originals. Because it's literally the only platform you can get it on. You can't buy a DVD of it or anything. So it makes people like literally have to buy it to see the show, you know? You can't see it on TV, you can't buy the show. So it's a smart move, and it's only on Netflix. But that's how they stay afloat. If they didn't have all those right good friggin' originals, they got Paradise PD, all kinds of originals that's what makes it kind of worth it, you know? It was definitely one of the best shows I've seen. Like, it's just friggin' crazy. And why is he trying to make it political, man? It doesn't make sense. It's not political at all. Like, yeah, I enjoy Ben Shapiro's friggin', like, don't get me wrong, I like Ben Shapiro as a content creator, but I'm just giving my constructive criticism, you know? I think you should stop like trying to make things that have literally nothing to do with anything political. And it doesn't make sense. We're gonna watch a little bit of the review and show you what I mean by it in Ben Shapiro. But I rate it 10 out of 10. I don't get what so back in a second. And play a little bit of this.
A review of Squid Game, which is the biggest show on Netflix and maybe in Netflix history. We'll get to all of the details in just one moment. First, this video is sponsored by Helix Sleep. First off, this is going to be filled with spoilers. So if you haven't actually seen Squid Game and you want to watch this very disturbing show and you don't want to know what's about to happen, then you really shouldn't watch this review until after you've actually watched the show. Unless you're producer Elliot, in which case you're screwed because you actually have to film this and, well, tough. So the basic premise of Squid Game is essentially Hunger Games crossed with Parasite.
Ben Shapiro, do you even have Netflix?
That's the elevator pitch. It's basically a guy who is living in poverty. He is divorced. He has a bad relationship with his ex-wife. He's kind of a derelict. He's a gambler. And he's fallen into tremendous amounts of debt with a gang, with some sort of mob. And he eventually is approached by a man in a subway station who decides to play a game with him. And the stakes of the game are that if he loses, then the man gets to slap him in the face really, really hard. And if he wins, then the guy gives him money. So this goes on for a few rounds, keeps losing and losing and losing. Finally, he wins some money. And the guy hands him a card and says, if you want to play more games like this, then let me know. He, of course, decides that he's going to call the number. He ends up being kidnapped, sort of, and taken to a place where they play these children's games. And there are going to be 6 rounds of the children's games. And if you make it through all 6 rounds, then you win this massive pot of money. What they don't tell you is that if you lose the games, then you die. So the very first episode, you have them play red light, green light, and everybody who moves during the red light phase of the game is immediately shot by snipers to death. You can kind of see this coming, frankly. Like if you knew anything about the show or if you had any idea of where this was going, this was not a giant surprise. The first episode is not particularly gory, but it is kind of disturbing in that everybody is being killed off, but very much like Battle Royale, the Japanese precursor to Hunger Games or Hunger Games itself. As the show goes on, the games become more and more scary. You have a couple of other characters who are introduced. You have a young woman who's escaped from North Korea, who's essentially attempting to win the money so that she can give the money to a trafficker to get her mom out of North Korea and also so that she can afford to buy a house with her younger brother. You have a mob member who is attempting to pay off his bad old debts. A crazy woman whose backstory you don't actually really get. You have a friend of the main character who made something of himself and now has mysteriously ended up in this game. And the reason is because he attempted embezzlement and he used money he didn't own in order to try and buy futures, and the futures went south, and so he ends up owing millions and millions of won. And there's this old man who's tagging along because he has brain cancer and he figures I may as well win some money for my family before I die. And they go through various permutations. Meanwhile, there's sort of a side story where a cop infiltrates and he's trying to figure out who's at the head of this organization that's attempting to create these games and torture these people. And it's kind of an interesting setup. In one episode, the people are actually allowed to be let go because the rules of the game are, once you sign up, you have to play. If you don't play, you get shot. But if a majority of the players at any given time decide they no longer want to play the game, then the entire game is disbanded, and the money that was collected for the game is distributed to the families of the people who died. So in an early episode, that's one of the things that happens. Everybody sort of goes back to their regular life. And then, of course, they end up coming back to the game because they have no options in the outside world. And this really brings us to the central sort of parasite aspect of Squid Game. It is a dystopian thriller, and so the politics are very communistic in nature. The politics for this very large budget show, which is being shown on Netflix, which is a high market cap tech company, are extraordinarily far to the left. The basic idea is that capitalism provides so little opportunity that you would rather play a game where you might get shot just to make money than attempt to live out your life in the regular world. And you see some of the other characters who are in the regular world, right? So the main character, who again is sort of a derelict and a gambler, his mom is trying to live a normal life, but she's got diabetes and she doesn't have enough money to pay for her surgical care, so she might lose her feet, for example. You have the mother of the guy who is corrupt and embezzling, and she runs like a very small stand, but is obviously living in some form of poverty. You have the North Korean escapee who is basically almost homeless and who is forced to steal money And there's a scene where the North Korean escapee is asked by another character, you escaped from North Korea, was it worth it? And the answer seems to be not really, which is kind of a strange take because North Korea is a giant gulag. It's a giant prison camp. So no matter what you think of South Korea, it is not comparable in any way, shape, or form to the lifestyle in North Korea, where people are on average several inches shorter than people in South Korea because of malnutrition. Also, if you make a show criticizing the regime in South Korea, it goes viral and ends up on Netflix. If you create a show criticizing the regime in North Korea, they strap you to the front of an anti-aircraft gun and then open fire. So that seems to be a slight difference. But the basic idea here is the same as the basic idea in Parasite, which is that if you are poor in South Korea, there is no way up the ladder because capitalism is evil. And there are a bunch of kind of notes that are put into the show that underscore this very silly theme. One of those notes is that when you get to the ending episodes and you find out who are the VIPs who bet on who is going to win and who's going to lose the game, they're all American. Like, they're all these big American fat cats, so it's really the evil Americans, their capitalist excesses, these decadent Americans who are behind this whole thing. There's not a good American in the entire show. They're just a bunch of Americans who are wearing these glittery masks, a la Hunger Games, and this is supposed to characterize the idea that really South Korean economics is run at the behest of these evil white corporate paymasters. The biggest spoiler, of course, is that the person who's heading up the Squid Game is the old man, right? So the old man is playing, and it turns out that he's playing out of fun. He's not actually playing because he is worried about dying. He does have brain cancer, that part's true, but he's the head of a major corporation. He's a very wealthy industrialist, and his entire shtick is that all of this is justified. Squid Game is justified because it is, in fact, more fair than the actual capitalist economy that is in place in South Korea. Okay, this is a very silly view of capitalism. Capitalism is literally predicated on the notion that you do not get something unless you give something to somebody else. Okay? As Hayek was fond of suggesting, the basic premise of capitalism is that you are forced to do something you wouldn't have normally done for somebody else because you need something from them. Trade ennobles. Yeah. Trade.
That's just crazy. It's just him basically going on political. You can check it out yourself, and you'll see. And we're gonna switch back to the regular cam now. Right. Yeah, that's freaking crazy, man. I can't believe it. I don't know if it's like. Comment below if you think Ben Shapiro is just is this all an act or is this his actual review? And like, well, I'm pretty sure he says he didn't watch it all. He probably watched some text-to-speech thing, which you can't really exactly get the whole show that way. You can know what happens, but it's not, you're not gonna really enjoy it as much, you know. And he's given a completely wrong, it's like a wrong premise. The whole show. It's nothing to do with anything political or about how bad. None. It's just freaking it's crazy, man. It's just funny. Ben Shapiro's always doing these weird things to try it. It's probably because people start talking about him and all that, like H3H Relief with the other things and stuff, but it was pretty funny anyway. But I made sure I watched the whole show before watching his review. But I just think it's funny. But definitely watch it. I definitely recommend watching it. So anyway, like, that's why I got my Netflix thing back too. Big reason for that show, you know. So yeah, anyway, guys and gals, hopefully you enjoyed my review and take on it. Like, my take, it's just like they're offering them an opportunity and they know what they're signing up for and all that. It's a lot of the whole thing is just because a lot of them don't read the contract whatsoever and they just sign it without reading. So yeah, anyway, guys and gals, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, smash like, subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and if you feel like supporting the channel any further, merch, link in the description, and the donation button link, if you feel like it. Oh, anyway, guys and girls, thanks for watching. Until next time, this is D'Angelo Pitcher, and I'm peacing out.